Allison. I live at 1620 South Pierce, the Box Canyon, right next to the interchange.
Yes, sir.
And I would like to add that I'm not hearing very well, so this whole enterprise is new to me.
Okay.
I can't hear much of what anybody says. Haven't heard anything you said.
Okay, I'll try
And I
to
have
speak a little more loudly.
COPD, which makes it hard for me to speak also.
Okay. Thanks for letting us know, sir. And I'll try and project a little bit more.
What?
I'll try and speak louder.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm Jimmy Presley Hammonds. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Jimmy Presley Hammonds. I reside at 1514 South Pierce. I'm a member of the Amarillo Citizens for Property Rights now.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy.
May I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
Quick comment. Come up, how long did it take to draw all this right here, man? I've heard different stories. I heard it took 15 months.
The different master plans?
Yeah.
Who would be best suited to answer that?
It didn't take, I haven't even been here 15 months. How long were we working on that?
Yeah.
We brought a consultant on around February of this year.
I mean, to actually start, have an architect start drawing it.
We brought a consultant on in February of this year.
Huh. Funny thing, I met a man 5 years ago that was drawing the same darn plan. May I ask you something else too?
Sure.
Wasn't it Sari that you said that the only crime in downtown Amarillo is graffiti?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay, I misunderstood you then. I'm like this man here, I'm a little bit deaf. Been that way for, God, I ain't gonna say how long, because, you know my age.
Well, and if I could just add, you know, I think on Saturday, we handed out the different piece. It was the glossary that explained some of the different plans that have gone on. And there was a architect's idea of how downtown could look in the downtown strategic action plan. And that would have been about
5 years ago.
just almost, yeah.
Okay.
So there is in the big downtown action plan,
Yeah.
there is a page that has a depiction of a place where venue, stadium, ballpark could go, and that was in the strategic action plan.
okay.
So you may be talking about a
Okay.
different document,
Okay,
but you're not,
Okay.
you know, I think I know what you're thinking, because I can kind of see it in my mind too.
Say y'all did do that, and, okay, that's 10th Street, okay, you're still 5 blocks away from me, but yet, I guess probably wind up being a parking lot, huh?
Well, here's an interesting thing, Jim. That brings up the question that I hear and what you're asking about that is the difference between the area that's drawn in those maps and the total downtown area. And I wonder who's the...
It's on there, purple.
Okay. And so Melissa, let me just make sure I have this right. This up here
Yeah.
is what's referred to as the study area. And so, Jimmy, the schematics that are printed in the paper then are drawn from this area.
Okay.
And, but our conversation tonight encompasses both this and the larger downtown area. But the plans they're talking about there are for this area that are right here. Before we go any further, a couple of things just about how we'll do tonight. Because it's a conversation, we want to make sure to respect each other and to wait for somebody's question to be answered before we jump in with one of our own. And again, since, if I understood correctly, sir, you're a resident of the area that's focused on tonight. And so I wanted to start with you and ask, what questions do you have about downtown redevelopment or about zoning or about anything that's going on in your neighborhood? Because there are people here who can answer them.
Well, I was looking at that map there, and it looks like the area where I live is traced out in red, out there next to the interchange. And I was wondering why that was.
This map has been, and I'm sorry, let me speak up. This map has been keeping track of the meetings that we've had. And so Saturday morning, we had a meeting for folks who were living here. Saturday afternoon, we had a meeting for folks who were living here. And then tonight, we're having a meeting for folks who are living right here.
Right there, where you live at, right?
Do you live
Yeah,
on
right
Pierce?
there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pierce is gonna be on the other side.
on this side over here? Okay.
He lives right there where it curves.
Right here where it curves?
Yeah, right there.
Is that,
Okay.
is that north, south, east, and west?
Yes, sir. And so, based on what Jim just told us, you live about right here. And so you're in this area over here, which is tonight's meeting. And I just haven't drawn it on this map yet.
And you live over in this area too, right?
Yeah, block up.
Yeah,
Well,
so,
I guess I'm not looking at that map right or something.
well, that's okay. Well, what-
His house is right there at the last of, it won't show it on there. This ends at 10th Street.
And so,
Robin, do you want to bring the map up just a little? Do you mind?
We're blind, I'm blind.
Kelly, do you mind helping?
I was just thinking maybe we could see it better.
Here's Pierce. Here's that.
Okay,
There you are.
so that's, so this is actually north, south, east, west here.
No, north is up.
This is north, this is north.
North, east, west, south.
You live right there, buddy, right there. I live right there.
Because it
This
is
is-
confusing up there by the
Okay.
interchange. I
I'm just
think.
looking at it another
I
way.
get turned around.
Okay.
Thank you, Robin. That's better than a magnifying glass.
And so,
I'm not sure.
Kelly's from the city, and Beth is from Center City, and Melissa's from downtown Amarillo. And so, if you have any questions about your neighborhood, they can help answer them. And so, I don't know if there's anything that's on your mind tonight that you want to ask about your neighborhood. But I wanted to start with you first, sir.
You want to what?
Wanted to start with asking your questions.
Oh, well, I've heard all kinds of things about taking our houses from us and making a parking lot and developing a ballpark. And that's the main reason I'm here, is to find out what their long-term intentions are to do that,
Okay.
you know, through eminent domain or whatever.
Okay, well, let's start with that question. And part of my role is to just write down the questions to make sure that we do a good job of answering everybody's questions. Who wants to handle the question or respond to the question of, will the city invoke eminent domain to take private residences in downtown Amarillo?
If I could,
Yes, sir.
why don't, Melissa, could you explain what the land use study was for? And then I can speak to, you know, how the city might be involved. That's why I had to crawl under the table the other day.
It's like too much.
I remember he said
yeah.
it hard time here.
Well,
Borrow your armrest, buddy.
let's see, y'all are on Pierce, correct? So that's
Right there.
this one right here, right? And we, you know, about, as I said, starting in about February, we began to look at the potential land uses in this area. And this is well north of where you live. And the reason that we started looking at this is there's a great deal of publicly owned land owned by the city. And we began looking at how to best use that land. You see these vacant, you know, the parking lots that are in this area and potential vacant land. So everything that we're looking at in terms of a potential ballpark or multi-purpose venue, in terms of a hotel, is all in this area. And you're here.
Yeah.
And I would say that, first of all, I don't believe, and the city can speak to this, there's any intention of ever using eminent domain to do any of these projects. The city's not done that. It's not something that the city's going to look at doing. In terms of the development in this area, it will not impact the residential area in terms of, you know, taking out any properties or being developed on this. So any development that occurs here should not impact, in a negative way anyway, in terms of taking away properties or anything like that, any of the residents here.
So my property values could remain the same.
Well, I don't, the Potter Randall Appraisal District appraises your property each year, so I mean, I can't speak for whether those will remain the same or go down or go up. I mean, that
Yeah.
is appraised for each property.
Up till now, there's been a lot of questions and the property values have plummeted, up and down, so I didn't know that. So you're planning on doing everything north of where I live?
Right, you're here, okay? You're somewhere on Pierce, right?
Very
I
bottom.
think down here at where the curve is.
15,
Yeah.
okay, so you're here. Everything we're looking at is here.
Okay.
Excuse me. Where are we located right now? Show me on your map.
We're at the church, where is it? Here. This is where we are now?
Yes.
It's right here.
Yeah.
And so, I'm sorry, sir, I just wanted to finish with this question for just a
Okay,
second.
go ahead, ma'am, go ahead.
And so, your second, so the first question was about eminent domain, and the response was no, eminent domain will not be a vote to take your home. And your second question was about turning neighborhoods into parking lots or paving over some neighborhoods. Who would be a good person to address? Will any existing homes be turned into a parking lot, or can you talk about parking?
No, parking's really important for downtown, but where we're headed in terms of looking at parking is going up in terms of parking garage, not tearing down buildings and building, or using parking lots. You can see here, this is all surface parking. And in the land use plan, which I actually have here, let me pull that up.
Oh, and I thought we put it
Pick one of them. Yeah, there's 3 scenarios we're looking at. This is one of them. And this would be the, so this is 10th Street. Okay, so 10th Street is right here. Okay, so it's, everything we're looking at is from here north. And so what we're looking at to accommodate the parking here is parking garage. And this is well north of you, but this would be the garage, for example, that would accommodate these uses.
Okay.
That one little garage,
Well, it's not gonna be a little garage.
it has to be about 20 foot high to hold all the cars.
It'd be 6 stories, about 15 to 1,600 spaces.
Not to mention all the other surface parking that's around there.
And, sir, do you have any other questions about your neighborhood, either about zoning questions or about city services for your neighborhood?
No, that's pretty much answers what I was concerned about.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for waiting. We just wanted to finish with these questions. And
Okay,
I'm
show me again where we're at located, because
Okay, and I'm sorry, I didn't hear your name?
George,
George, and I'm Robin. I believe we're located right here.
right there.
The green roof that you see on there.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay, Polk Street is located where?
Right there by that building where you
Yeah.
pointed.
yeah.
This sits
Well-
on Polk Street.
Okay,
This is
what
Polk
gets,
Street's
throws
right
me
there.
off is,
Right,
We're here, we're
yeah,
here.
so
what
Post
throws
Street's right
me
there.
off is that right where the, right here on I-40, what is this right here? Right there, that's I-40,
That's
That's
I-40,
which is right,
right,
Up there.
okay.
right there.
Well, that's 27,
So-
I-27.
Tonight we're talking
I-40
about
is
this
right. Oh, where you
neighborhood,
pointing at?
here's the
I'm sorry.
land use area.
I didn't see you
Here's
from
the,
So you're not on this side, you're not discussing anything on this side?
we had
Where-
those meetings, Saturday, you can speak to that.
Oh, sure. We had 2 meetings on Saturday that were focusing on folks who live in these areas. And the reason we're doing a series of small group meetings is so that people have the time to get the kind of attention where they can have their questions answered, one by one. And we want to take a minute and ask about some ideas about what would you like to see in downtown? And so what's not here now in downtown that you would like to see in downtown? And that question's for everybody. But, sorry, if I could start with you.
I'm pretty much, would like to see the city promoted, as it is. I like to, see growth and prosperity. So, I just don't want to be a victim of it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I understand. And so growth and prosperity. And is there any one thing that you would say that the downtown is missing? A service or
Just a number of people being downtown,
just more people?
yeah.
Yeah. So
And
more
George, I
people using
think
downtown.
you work downtown, right? You work at Plaza One?
One.
Yeah. Can you, let's show on the map where, Vicki, can you show where Plaza One and Plaza Two are, just because I think I think it's kind of hard to see the map.
Well, here's the Chase, here's the big thing, here's the Chase Tower. Plaza 1 and 2 are right
Probably right there.
there. I'm talking about A and B.
Yeah, that's where I see
Here's the
George.
courthouse, and here's, you should do this way.
I can see, you want me to get up there?
Here we go.
You gonna take the shortcut again?
There's a big one.
He may, limbo.
And so we're talking right back.
Right back to here? Okay, so I can't
There.
Oh, okay.
There's the parking garage for A and B,
I can't see it.
and they're right next to it's the Plaza 2, and then there's the A and B right there. Hey, Robin?
Yes, sir, ma'am.
Anymore. I was gonna say, it might be helpful if everybody can move the map up and everybody can.
Well, absolutely. In fact, I can just bring it around the room, actually. And so,
Downtown, I'd like to see downtown like it was in the sixties.
Ain't gonna happen.
Shopping.
yeah.
You got the mall.
So would you mind?
You got the mall out
So
there.
George, more shopping?
More shopping,
More
yes.
shopping?
Not what we got right now. It seems like all we have is lounges and, I mean, I'm an old folk now, but if I was younger, I might be satisfied with that.
But more shopping
More
and
shopping,
fewer
yeah.
lounges and bars?
Most people would rather go to malls
Yeah,
or shopping centers.
yeah.
That's what killed downtown to begin with, was malls, all over America.
Sunset Center,
And so if it's okay to just go
or
around the
LBJ,
table.
you took the airbase
Um,
away.
Jimmy, what are some things that you'd like to see downtown?
A different bunch of people at City Hall.
Okay.
Well, you got your chance.
Besides that, a 3D, what you call it, like they have in Vegas?
The IMAX?
Yeah, IMAX,
The
yeah.
IMAX, okay.
An art guy, well, Emerald College pretty well got the art gallery just covered.
Yeah.
And they're out there. I also would like to, and I wrote a book about it, and an article that was printed, a book about how it was during the 50s in Amarillo, Texas.
Uh-huh,
And like the curbs, the streets was wider,
right.
and it was like going to the fair, and going to the fair is all different back then too. It ain't a little big short rinky dink like we got now. It went all the way out to the ballpark.
Uh-huh.
On Polk Street, you'd have crowds going like that, just people to people to people.
Well, I wonder, can anyone speak to because one of the questions that I hear what you just said was about our streets and our sidewalks. And so can anyone talk about if our streets or sidewalks would look different, or if they'd be improved, or how they'd be different with redevelopment?
Well, I think where we're trying to head is to make downtown more walkable. We have great traffic flow here. That's really not very much of a challenge. Even getting through downtown, I mean, most people can get through downtown pretty easily, especially having the state highway. So what we're trying to do is have a balance of walkability. And I don't think there's any intention to change the width of streets, because the vehicular traffic seems to flow pretty well, but improving the sidewalks in particular, and crosswalks and making it safer for pedestrians and bicyclists as well.
Okay. Thank
You know, we talked about, crime and stuff last week. I'd like to read this article a citizen sent into the paper. It said, Polk Street has trouble, with all the planning, bragging, yapping, and crowing about all the plans for downtown. Why are we not hearing about the troubles on Polk Street recently? Shortly after closing October 10th, several shots were fired in front of the clubs in the 700 block of Polk. The police department made an arrest, weapons drawn, and fortunately no one was injured. The trouble is, though, that we heard nothing about this. Are the downtown dunderhead developers trying, I didn't write this now. Are the downtown dunderhead developers trying to keep this sort of thing hush-hush so the investors will dump their cash into the project? The last investors group that pulled out didn't come right out and say it, but they didn't like the gangster element their customers would be forced into contact with, nor did they appreciate people being accosted at the doors of lawful establishments all night long. In Amarillo, we have a problem when 2 of the last shootings at bars involved teenagers with weapons. What are they doing in places where they cannot legally be in the first place? Let's put our resources into clean up all of Amarillo before we throw good money away on bad ideals. Mac Jazz bad Amarillo.
Okay, well, so thank you for bringing up these questions, and let me kind of spread them out among some folks.
Sure.
It feels like the question about crime maybe is a Kelly or a Vicky question in terms of the city responding. Do you know what the police department or what the area of the city that focuses on the downtown area is doing in response to shootings?
Well, not being involved in the police department, I can't speak specifically about what their responses are, but I do know if they get a call like that, they do respond, obviously. But a lot of the crime issues, statistically, the downtown area does not have a lot of crime. And so there's the issue of, you do see there are some organizations, nonprofit type organizations that are there to help, the less fortunate and that kind of thing. So you do see somewhat of a presence, depending on where you are, of some people like that. But as far as statistics show, that there doesn't seem to be a tremendous amount of crime or a big crime problem in the downtown area. But I'm sure that whatever crime there is that happens and that gets called in is addressed. But I don't know how they specifically do that, or specifically any kind of a plans they have to address that kind of issue.
And as a follow-up, as part of his, and ma'am, I'll come to you in just a second, I want to just finish his question. As a follow-up to that, are there, do we know potential developers, are they put off by the crime figures that they would see in the downtown area? Is that an issue?
Well, I think the developers that we've been talking to, meeting with, discussing potentially downtown redevelopment with, and I don't know who they're referring to in the article, really understand that the best way to address crime, aside from working with the police, which is obviously really important, is bringing people back downtown, just like the comment earlier, and making downtown active and vibrant, into the 9 hours. It's people on the side, non-criminal kind of people, on the sidewalks and shopping and dining and so forth that make an area really safe. I mean, we see it in downtowns across the country. So I think developers that we've been talking to understand that redevelopment and bringing vacant buildings back to life and bringing retail at the ground level that brings people downtown into the evening and on the weekends makes the downtown safe. So that's kind of where we're working towards.
Okay.
Are you aware that there is organized crime here in Amarillo?
Not intimately.
It's here.
I'm not the
It's
police
here.
department, I'm working downtown.
You know, there's 3 street gangs I know of, and there's 2 motorcycle gangs I know of that's involved in criminal activities.
Okay. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, I'm
Oh,
just
it
saying
does.
I'm not, you know,
It
that's not
does.
my area.
Okay, and yes, ma'am.
When they may be confused that you're calling the downtown area where that, you've got the heavier markings there, where near the civic center and the banks and all that area.
Uh-huh.
But they're also included in that downtown area, they're calling the residents where we live downtown. And I want to tell you that we have been hit over and over and over where with a dog, with security system, we have even had our front porch taken while we were asleep upstairs. And now I bought a different set of lawn furniture, and I had antique wicker. And every time I go out now, I bought some cheap one now at Big Lots, because I'm not gonna have my antiques out there no more. I learned my lesson. And every time we go out of town, I have to bring all my stuff inside the house and lock it up. That same night, they did the first robbery on the front porch. 3 other houses were hit for their front porch furniture. And one lady said, no, I'm not gonna call the police, it's just lawn furniture. I said, the fact that somebody got up to the top of your porch while you're asleep and took it under your nose, you need to call the police.
My grandmother was
Yeah.
alive and had her stolen.
So then they have come in boldly and gone in our garden shed and taken garden equipment. Over and over, this happens. If it's not me, somebody else down the side streets or, you know. They have painted graffiti. Right now, there's something ugly written on the back of my garage. When we were first wanting to buy a house that was on Madison, we decided not to buy it because it had a gang sign on the Dipsy dumpster. And I thought, gee, I didn't know there were gangs. But this was definitely an LA gang sign on there, and they're moving in.
They've been here 5 years.
Well, you know, I don't keep up with the Hispanic community, but when I'm here, there's more and more moving in into that area that are coming in from California, other parts. There is crime. We have drug dealers that when you step out of your car to get in your house, they come up and ask you if you want to buy drugs.
Well,
So there is crime.
and so that's.
And it's not just in the downtown area, and when you're gonna be bringing in more people downtown, more strangers and everything else, they're gonna be going through our streets. They're gonna look and see, hey, these are nice homes. I'll come back later. They must have had come last time in a truck because they took so much of my furniture that it had to have been put on a truck.
I am so sorry to hear about. That must have been frightening and upsetting.
And they took, like I said, the 2 other neighbors down
Yeah.
had their, on the same street that same night.
I'm very sorry about that, ma'am.
Well, I was already just, my insurance wouldn't pay for it.
Oh, well, and Kelly, I noticed you were about to say something. Okay. Is there, and the folks in this meeting may not be the quickest resource, but is there somebody in the city who could maybe talk to Irma about how police patrols are handled?
Let me tell you, we gave them the license plate number of the guy that was drunk coming from one of the bars, came from 16th Street, hit our fence, went right through our fence. Thank God there wasn't a hole there. He left us his red paint, he left us a license plate that said
And then
truck.
Third, and then your railroad
We
tracks,
went to the police, we had the police come over, they never did anything. I mean, they had the name of the person, I mean, we gave them the license plate, they never took care of it, they never answered our question, or we'll be back, we'll be calling you, they never do.
Okay, okay.
And
thank
so
you.
what good does it do to give me the name of somebody that's gonna, because they're not gonna do anything? We don't have enough manpower. We don't have time to do, we're handling bigger crime.
Well,
A
it's-
drunk could have hit a kid.
Yeah, and that's very unfortunate. I'm very sorry that you've had to deal with that, ma'am. As we're continuing down the table, Kelly, I wonder, in response to your question, what do we want to see downtown? Are there some things that you or your family have been thinking that you'd like to see downtown?
Me?
Uh-huh.
I agree a lot with George that, number one, I want to see more people downtown. But number two, I would like to see a variety of businesses downtown rather than just a lot of bars. And I think any type of, I like the idea of a theater to be back in downtown. Just, I would like to see more of the small mom and pop shops. I'd like to see more pedestrian activity. I'd like to see some more open space developed, park-like settings.
Okay.
And a variety of businesses, just not all,
Yeah.
alcohol-based.
Right. That makes sense. Well, and Charlene?
Yes,
I know that you said you didn't live downtown, but you have family downtown.
yes.
I wonder if are there any things that you've been thinking that you'd like to see downtown that's not here now?
Well, the development of downtown is fine, and we like for the downtown to be revitalized, but we don't want liberties, freedom, property rights stepped all over. And these ordinances do that.
Especially the residents.
Okay, and so your concern is you want the development, but you want to
Well,
make sure
we want it in a way that is not stepping on people's rights.
Okay, so a development in a way that protects homeowners' rights.
That's right.
Okay.
Property rights.
Property rights, liberty, property rights and freedom are inseparable.
Yeah,
Okay.
one thing.
Okay. And Beth, what would you add, what would you like to see more of downtown?
Well, I think you said the main word, just more. I think, I tell this story. When I started working downtown in 1975, there were about 3 places to eat. And now it's exciting because we have a lot more choices. My dream would be to have a movie theater downtown again. We had some great movie theaters downtown. I'd love to have a movie theater again. I know a movie theater would bring lots of people downtown. And then I think we need to look at venues for family-friendly events, because that's one thing I've heard in a lot of the meetings. People want a place to go, want a place to bring their family. So maybe a venue.
Okay. And,
Well, in the past, like in the 60s, 70s, there were 2 theaters. And if you
Yes.
notice, they were on the opposite side.
Right.
Like on 10th Street and 4th Street. So in other words, the people that attended those events, when they came out, back in those days, they would stay.
they had the whole area.
The whole
Yeah,
area.
that's really smart.
That Business,
Yeah.
it's brought to business.
Yeah, that would
But
really make it
then,
walkable.
they just, the mall, like you said,
Yeah.
killed downtown. That's what killed downtown, the mall.
Yeah.
Well, actually, airbase going out killed downtown really bad.
I heard it too.
I was here when it happened.
And yes, sir.
I have no problem with downtown growing, I'm all for it. I don't think it'll ever be like it used to be back in the old days when people dragged Polk Street. I'm wondering about the ballpark, I'm wondering where the money, how we're gonna do that. I know we don't own the ballpark here, the city doesn't own it, the county does. What I'm concerned about is, how did the Oliver Eckle Group even get added into the downtown area? And I'd like to know who came about adding it to it. How a living area where people have homes and stuff got annexed to downtown.
Okay, who'd be a good person to answer how the residential areas were designated as part of the downtown area?
Well, I mean, the residential area didn't move, downtown didn't move. It's always been where
It
it's
got
been.
added into it.
Well, I mean, it depends on I don't know what you're referring to, got it added into it.
The residential area was never part of downtown, and it shouldn't even be included in
No,
it.
it's not.
Well, I live downtown, and I consider myself very connected to downtown. I live on Polk Street, and, it is where it is. So, I mean, if you're referring to a specific,
It is where it is. That's not really an answer, Melissa,
Polk
because
Street
when
is
I
street
asked
Melissa, my family owned a whole block of downtown Amarillo. That was there before some of those residents were there. And that residential area should not be included with downtown, in my opinion. I'd like to know how it got added to it.
Specificity to the question.
I think what you're asking is, he's talking about the downtown design standards, that the rules and the regulations that apply to the downtown business core shouldn't be put on or be part of the residential area. That's what you're
Correct.
speaking to.
That's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, 'cause when I moved here and,
If
Beth
it-
told me
let me-
11th
hold
Street
it a
was for
minute. Let me-
downtown
Folks,
ended.
remember, we want
Let
to
me
take
finish
one
what
at
I
a
want
time.
to say. If that area was not included in this, you wouldn't have, nobody to have a whole lot of problems.
Right.
It would end a lot of it. Kind that needs to be rethought a little bit.
Okay, and I understand that, and those are the kind of things I really would like to talk about. What my answer would be, why was it included, is because if you look at that area, it's in very, very close proximity to downtown, and it really isn't a standalone subdivision like, say, somewhere southwest or southeast or something like that. There are a lot of people that live there that go back and forth, and about, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years ago, there was a large group of people that were from that neighborhood that felt that recognized that residential area was, and we got into a little bit of this on Saturday, but that this area was special and that it was a significant historical area of Amarillo, and that they wanted, and they felt that it was starting to deteriorate somewhat, and they wanted to try to do something to keep that from happening.
Okay,
So
but the
they-
area south
Well, hang on a
of
second.
I-40 is the same.
Hang on a second. This, I'm talking about a specific group that was right here in this area, and they tried, and what they did is they had a lot of meetings, had a lot of support. The very first thing they did is they got the city to change the zoning that's along 15th Street to basically take the light commercial away from that to get the bars out of there.
Right.
They established a planned development to not allow that. The second thing they did is established a historic preservation ordinance as best they could, with some guidelines on what you could do and what they didn't, and what you couldn't do without approval to the exterior of your homes. And if you were identified as having a house or a structure that was historically significant, if you went to go get a building, a lot like what we're talking about today with the downtown standards, you had to tell somebody what you were wanting to do, and if it was within the character of that historic neighborhood, it was fine. And they wanted to try to do that to protect that character and try to stabilize that neighborhood from deteriorating any further. And so when this downtown redevelopment effort started, it seemed like that was a good time to try to incorporate that neighborhood, given the history of it, into the downtown design standards to try to help with that. And what me personally I'm trying to do is I'm trying to understand, I hear, that's been a sentiment out there for a long, long, long time. And so I'm trying to determine if in fact people care about that neighborhood and want to try to do something or try to get it stabilized, or do they really not care about it and just want to let it to just whatever happens happen. And that's what I'm trying to get from these meetings, really.
I can tell you that, being that I live in that, the sign starts at my, front of my house, that starts the historical area. We care about our homes, we care about their historical homes, and we take the responsibility to do the upkeep and stuff. We would like to be separate from the downtown stuff and not be called part of downtown. Be called a historical district, make that a different entity than being part of everything else that's going on, because we don't consider ourselves downtown. We consider ourselves a historical district or historical residential area. if the neighbors that, or the residents that live in that area could come together and we make up an association of some sort or something that that we together come to an agreement. You know, let's clean up, let's fix up, let's do this, let's do that. That's different. We do care about our homes. We do care. When we bought our historic homes, we knew that it was going to be our responsibility to keep them as intact and as historically as possible. Of course, there's a lot of homes that have been bought up by landlords to use as rental properties and things.
That's true.
And we need to get together with them. We need to have a different feel and bring that historical district in a different gathering than gathering people to put a ballpark and all this kind of stuff. I like what they're doing downtown. I like the idea of the little shops. I like the idea of bringing people in. I would love to see that, Blackburn's department store up and running again like a department store. I like to see a cute little grocery store. The lady said last Saturday she wanted to see it. And I thought, oh God, please not a chain. But something cute and, you know, that they could go in and buy fresh vegetables to make a salad or whatever. I don't know, whatever they want to do. But anyway, what people don't realize that by bringing all those people in the downtown section there where you're going to be putting the ballpark and all this stuff, it's going to be bringing more traffic into our residential areas, more people coming through our residential area. Where they live, on Pierce, they're right below where the section where where the ballpark would be put and all that other extra people coming and going. You're going to hear the noise of the ballpark. Because when I lived on Valley View, I could hear the football games going on at Randall High School. And I live over there. I have a house over by Gene Powell Elementary School. You can feel like you're right at the football game. When you have motorcycle stuff going on in that ballpark and stuff, don't tell me that noise is not going to be heard on Pierce. And probably even in our neighborhood too.
And so there's a question in that. And on your behalf, sir, since tonight's meeting is about the exact neighborhood where you live and where you too, sir, are there studies planned for traffic flow and on how to handle traffic coming in and out of the larger downtown area?
Well, as we move forward, I mean, there's a lot of work still to be done to even know whether some of these things are going to be viable. And so as we move forward on that due diligence, part of that effort is going to have to include a look at the transportation and the flow of streets and the one-way and two-way and how we handle traffic flow. And one of the reasons that we looked at the potential of an entertainment venue where we looked at it was because it's surrounded by Pierce and Buchanan. And so those are streets that can get people in and out very quickly. And if you've ever been to a ball game, for example, you know that not everybody leaves at the same time. But the existing ballpark is on a 4-lane city arterial, I believe, 3rd Street. And so this actually even allows for a greater traffic flow than that has now, and seems to work okay. But definitely as we move forward, we'll need to look at transportation as new developments come in.
Okay, and one of the things I noticed from the plans that Melissa had picked up and shown earlier is that some concepts have the ballpark as far north as up here. And so that would mean traffic would be handled very differently because it'd come in and, thanks, Judy, yeah. And so in that case, it would be up here, and so very far away in that case from these residential neighborhoods down here.
But I think it's also important to remember that this is just a possible plan. For it to happen, there are a lot of steps that would have to take place. But when people talk about family-type venues and family-oriented activities, what can you do? Well, that's a big one. I mean, that would be a very, very nice thing, if it ever comes to fruition. But it does generate some traffic depending on what it's gonna be, but so do new theaters, and so do, you know, if we want something to happen to downtown, we've gotta get people downtown, and that's gonna create traffic, but some of the thoroughfares, though, are much easier to get down than winding through the neighborhood, so, you know.
Okay, and so, hold on just a second, Irma had her hand up.
You
Yes, ma'am.
also have you're gonna have the ballpark and the convention center. When there's events at the convention center going on, you got things going on in the ballpark and stuff. That creates even double traffic and things. One time the only time I've ever seen heavy traffic in Amarillo after an event was when 5 or 6 churches got together and had something real big down and the traffic was bottlenecked. I had never seen anything like it.
Everybody was trying to get to
What I
the-
like about Amarillo is that you get out of the Civic Center, you get on the freeway, you head out, and the traffic moves pretty good. Very rarely do we have any traffic jams anywhere. But then you have an accident or something going on I-40, or a big rain or something, and it is a mess. And on my street, at 5 o'clock, when all the businesses are letting out and the workers they're heading down Harrison. Every Sunday, church lets out, and it is like the parade of all the churches coming down Harrison, heading for I-40. When there's gonna be a lot of traffic with 2 events going on at the same time, maybe 3, because there might be something going on at the auditorium that same night, along with the Civic Center, along with the ballpark. Where does all that traffic go? They head towards the residential area. And we got kids too, that play, they'll run across the street, or we got animals and stuff, So you got noise and safety to consider in the residential areas.
And so we'll make just a highlighted note about traffic, noise, and safety in terms of planning. Earlier in our conversation tonight, somebody mentioned about wanting to make sure that their neighbors were taken care of. And I know that that's one thing that the city and downtown Amarillo and Center City were interested in was, do you here have ideas about the best way to kind of help your neighbors? And if we could, George, start with you, and I'm sorry to just call on you like that, but since we just finished going through this way to just, and so let me answer.
You mean in regard to helping my neighbors in what way?
Well,
As far as safety,
As far as-
traffic, or what?
well, for any of the things that we've talked about tonight, whether it's safety or traffic, or if they've got questions or concerns, or if you know that one of your neighbors in the downtown area is concerned about maybe their porch furniture being stolen or something like that, do you have any ideas about?
No, not really. No.
Okay.
No, my neighbors, they take the law mostly in their hands, So if I
Remind
would
me never to
trespass,
never
I would
take
not
a-
trespass their property after 11 o'clock at night, between 11 and 6 in the morning.
Good to know, good to know.
That's my neighborhood,
That's right.
Yes, sir.
right down 1 block from here.
Okay.
Sir, I wanted to ask you,
Yeah.
do you have any ideas for things that would be good for your neighbors, or that would help your neighbors?
That would help my neighbors,
Yes, sir.
not necessarily, I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you meant.
How about we add on and/or neighborhood to that question?
Okay. Yeah, and so let's do that. An idea that would help your
Well,
neighborhood.
unfortunately, most of us, we don't have a neighborhood watch or a neighborhood,
Okay. So a neighborhood
Now,
watch
that's
might
mostly
be,
in the southwest part of town, where everybody's checking, because,
okay, I'm listening, I'm
in
just
my
writing
line of
down.
work, I sometimes deliver things to residential areas,
Right?
and the little old lady across the street
Yes, sir?
calls the police because I see a person that does not fit in the neighborhood. And so I have to explain what was the reason I was doing it, you know? So that's, here we don't have much of that problem.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And so thanks, Kelly. It's really helpful to add that component to it. So as you think about your neighbors or your neighborhood, is there something that you think would help your neighborhood?
Yeah, for instance, here about a month and a half ago, I think the traffic's bad here a month and a half ago. I know what a gun sounds like, and I can tell you what it is. There's a 38 that went off 3 times in a row. Bam, bam, bam. I get up, I grab my cell phone, I grab my gun, I come around through the back, along the side fence. All this time, I'm calling 911. I call them, and it's pretty neat. They came and they didn't have their headlights on. That's pretty cool, I thought, you know. And they didn't get the guy, you know. I want them to get the guy that was doing it. And there's a dope deal that's going on, and this neighbor over here seen him, and he didn't call the cops because he's a pot smoker, and he might have been high. He might have been out there smoking pot. He told me about it, you know, 2 or 3 days later. I said, "Did you hear the gunshots go off?" And he said, "Yeah. What the deal is I seen this guy, and he had this pistol, and shooting at this guy in a Jeep, and he ran up the guy in the Jeep, and he got something from the guy in the Jeep, and the guy in the Jeep hooked him. And the guy with the gun, where he disappeared to, I don't know. But the only thing I know is they better not come on my property trying to shoot somebody, because I'll shoot back and I'll hit them right in the head." I've got a bullet hole in my window, little 22,
Wow.
you know.
Well, so.
You know, I don't know.
What was their what was their response time? Did they get there pretty quick?
He got there about 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay.
They was
Okay.
quick, they was really quick.
Curious.
They was,
Thank you.
That's
now,
great
now,
response time.
what happened to the guy, I think he lived in a apartment building. I think he went in there, and the guy in the Jeep, I don't know if they caught the guy or not. But they did respond
Good.
good.
I'm glad.
They did respond good.
So-
Fire department responds good too, because my living room caught on fire here one year.
Oh my God.
I went to the back, to the kitchen, I came back, and my mattress was on fire. So I played fireman. I grabbed that mattress, I took it all outside and everything, and put out the fire and
But
everything.
they came pretty quickly?
They came pretty quickly, put the mattress out. I got out, got hands burnt, but saved my house.
And so as we just continue along, are there some other ideas about things that would really help your neighbors or help your neighborhood? Yes, ma'am.
Well, my neighbor and she lives 2 houses away from me, and she has a key to my house.
Mhm.
And she hasn't given me a key to her house, but we go out quite a bit out of town and so.
Mhm.
But when they stole my furniture, they stole hers too, so a lot of good it did to look after each other. And I called the police on the neighbors next door to us because they're constantly, one night I called them 3 times because they barbecue in the front porch. And see, that's their right to barbecue in the front porch, so I let them.
Uh-huh.
But when
Oh,
they're
that's so
using the
dangerous.
F word and yelling and screaming and drinking at 2 o'clock in the morning, by that time, I'm fed up.
Yeah.
So I call the police on money. But you were talking about parks just now, wanting more parks. We have that beautiful park, what's it called, Oliver Echo Park? There's nobody that uses it. I go by there, and there's never a family sitting at a picnic table or playing in that beautiful fountain. Very rarely do you see anybody there. Having that Elwood Park, now it's been fixed up for the senior citizens and stuff, supposed to be safer. I'm still not looking at seeing the senior citizens coming out and walking and using it and stuff.
They're getting a big.
Bicycle paths, I was out the other day, yesterday, and I was standing in front of my house over on Valley View. Kids are going on their bicycles and they're in the middle of the street and the bicycle path is painted right next to it. They're not gonna do the bicycle path, they're not. And I was at one of the parks and I was standing there and I was with a group of people. A man comes up to me and he was really upset. He had taken some of the neighborhood kids to play soccer there on the field. He was told that no, he could not let the children play there because it's for organized sports such as Kids Inc. and stuff like that, because the city has to maintain those parks. And they're doing wear and tear by bringing in the neighborhood kids to play in the park. I thought the parks were supposed to be to keep the kids off the street. But if you're gonna put in parks and then have those kind of restrictions, then what's the use of having parks?
Unless it was reserved, I mean, unless, you know, like I can
There wasn't
reserve,
anybody there.
I can
It
reserve a
was
picnic
It was
area.
empty. He brought some of the neighborhood kids and his grandkids. They were gonna play soccer. And I did not get the man's name so that I could,
What park was it?
I believe it was, we were at John Stiff Park,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken. And he was furious because somebody came out and told him he could not let the kids play. Because that's what like the organized sports like Kids Inc. and that kind of thing. And that they were causing wear and tear on the grass and the city has to maintain that.
Yeah, who knows, but our parks director would be real interested in talking to
I
you
wish I had the
about.
man's name, I gave him my card, but he never called me.
Yeah, so, I mean, it could have been that there was something scheduled to start soon, you know, because if you're out there
Thank you
over the
for coming,
weekend,
sir.
they have all these games, you know, soccer all the time, and, you know, and they turn over really fast. So I have no idea, but, you know, those are the kinds of things our parks director, his name is Larry, would like to know about. And, you know, was it a parks person or just a citizen who told him that?
He thought he was speaking with somebody of authority.
Oh, okay.
That's how he was so mad that he was told he could not let his grandson and the neighborhood kids play there. It's a band filled with kids that they had decided to take out there.
That's what the parks for, so.
What I thought.
You know, so that's not something that we do, you know, now, unless it's been reserved, and all those teams reserve those things, and they turn over like every 30 or 40 minutes when they're all out practicing. I mean, it can be really, really busy in all of our parks where we have soccer fields, so.
That's good to know.
Yes,
I'd
sir.
like to say something before we leave. Oliver Echo Group area is not only historical, where they put I-40 in, there's historical places in Bivens and Woodford also, and right south of I-40 there.
Okay.
There's the same type of houses, same everything,
Okay.
Before I-40 cut it.
way before I-40.
And the area,
There's tunnels underneath Harrison Street and stuff that people don't even know about, that have been there since the Civil War.
So what about the historic
The Civil
neighborhoods
War?
south? Okay, thank you, sir, I'm writing this down.
I have a question.
John,
The residents.
The Civil War?
Yeah,
Has there ever been,
I've been in them.
you know, an effort to pull together a neighborhood patrol or citizens on patrol kind of thing?
when I moved in 10 years ago, there was a neighborhood association. We were invited to go to a picnic that they had, but after that, it disbanded.
But this is
I
something
don't
that,
have to do
you know,
nothing with me, but nobody, it just dropped. And it would be nice if we had the neighbors come together again and let's say, let's do a neighborhood watch. Let's sign up to keep an eye on
you
your
know, you don't have to have a
neighbors.
neighborhood association to do
Well,
that.
I mean, just to bring neighbors together. You know, nowadays people come home from
I was
work,
gonna
and go
say.
into the garage, or go in the back door.
1800s,
And,
ain't been
and they
done
don't
in the
see
1800s.
who they are.
Late 1800s.
The lady across the street from me owns a bed and breakfast. We get all her traffic along our street. I don't mind. I even offer them, I have a strip of parking that everybody thinks it's ours, but it belongs to the building across the street from us. I say, use this to park rather than parking in your street. The house in front of us is a rental house. They're constantly changing tenants.
Yeah.
And I need one,
Oh, I'm sorry, I
no, I
thought you
don't
had.
need one of those, but I really, you have
I've got
it.
one of those.
Yeah. And so we're not getting a chance to really, and somebody tried to do a block party or something so that we could get a chance to meet one another. Neighbors need to know one another. You start to recognize who's in your neighborhood and who doesn't belong there. You know, we get a lot of homeowners that walk down through the alley to looking for cans and stuff to sell, aluminum cans and stuff. But if we continue to let neighbors throw out furniture and mattresses and stuff, you know, they keep coming through there, and like I said Saturday, we have people sleeping on those mattresses out in the alleyways and
I've
stuff.
turned those in for you.
And so, it's sad that we don't not know anybody anymore. We come home from work, we hit the TV or whatever, the kids are playing in the front. They don't even come and knock on my door on Halloween. I've always handed out candy, I've been there 10 years, we don't have kids come, maybe they think I'm the witch.
And I wanted just to tell you personally, I have had stuff stolen from my yard, and not long ago, I did have to call on a mattress in the alley. I mean, I think a lot of different neighborhoods have that. I don't think that's just one neighborhood.
Well, going back to that park thing that, Irma, you were talking about, I did see in the newspaper where they want to put an ordinance where, unless it's a league play, that they can't play in those parks.
Which ones?
It was it said like John Stiff was one of them, where they have organized, because they have to worry with, and I have the article, I don't have it with me, but there was an article, I don't know, Karen may know about it, where they had an ordinance about the parks and not wanting to. No, it wasn't. They're thinking about an ordinance where they can't play in the parks unless it's an organized, just like she said.
Can't play in the parks, but it was,
Now, there's a
consideration
I think
No,
a curfew.
no, it was they couldn't play in the park unless it was league play.
limiting the use
It
of.
wasn't it about
It was about
wearing
league
the
play.
maintenance?
Yeah, he's thinking about the director, Ortballer, or I can't remember.
Offerdahl,
Yeah, that's it. He was thinking about an ordinance. I have the article, I can bring it next time
Well,
around.
I mean, our Parks Commission is another appointed board, and they meet frequently, and they talk about all these different things about how to.
Well, it was in the newspaper, it was an editorial, it was an editorial.
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen it. And matter of fact, I kept it.
Okay.
This lady over here from the Globe News just said she thought it was brought up and it hadn't been passed.
No, it hadn't been passed. They're thinking about an ordinance to do that. So I don't know if they're doing it without the